In today's feature interview, we're chatting with the founder of Spirituality Gone Wild, Debbie G. Hey everyone, Andrew here, otherwise known as that guy who wrote the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And I'm joined by a special guest for today. I'm really excited for this conversation. Debbie G is known as the Gratitude Whisperer, and she's also the founder of Spirituality Gone Wild. And we've had conversations before, and I really just love her style. I love her relaxed vibe and really the warmth that she exudes on a consistent basis. And I just figured it would be fun to invite her on, have a conversation, and just kind of see where the conversation went. So without any further ado, Debbie G, thank you so much for being here and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Good morning. Hi, Andrew. We're going to spark that G vibe today, everybody. It's your gratitude vibration. You're going to learn how to tap into what's already innately within you and rock your universe. That's what gratitude's about. So I'm excited to be here with you, Andrew. I've had you on my show, Cup of Grata, and it's been fun. It's just always good to hang out with you. I love what you're doing out here in the world. So thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And, just to give people a little context, I think it would be really fun for people to understand, how you found your way to discovering the law of attraction and the kind of impact and events and situations and circumstances you encountered as you discovered that and how that really just affected your life.
So it was through the law of appreciation for me.
Mm-hmm.
100%. The law of attraction is beautiful and I love it. That is the law. But the law of appreciation makes the law of attraction happen. And how I found my way, without your dark, you wouldn't know your spark. And I say that because I have so many experiences to pull from. A lot of my life experiences, people like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you went through that. And I'm like, I'm so grateful I went through that. And I like to preface, if anybody ever wants one of those stories, with, I'm so grateful that I went through this. And then stepping into spaces a lot of people look at as being trauma or to be, PTSD and this and that. And I've done a lot of work around that. But my work's all been based in the sheer factor and the energy and the vibration of gratitude, of a deep, grateful state of beingness, not just a word, but a grateful state of beingness.
Mm-hmm.
I got there because what I was doing, Andrew, wasn't working. And in our lives, we get to a place, what it just wasn't working. I've had near-death experiences. I've had all kinds of things that have woke me, that have, I've held someone's hand when they stopped breathing. I've saved a human life. All of those things brought me to a closer at one minute with source, whatever that is for anybody who's listening. But there's just this magic when it's just pure total appreciation for whatever the experience is that you've had. And when it's not working anymore, you will shift it and change it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of life. I call myself the gratitude whisperer because really it's a whisper in your ear. Everyone gets it. Everyone hears it. Have you ever heard a whisper, Andrew? A whisper that told you, what if you appreciated this instead of hating it?
Yeah. I love it. So, and obviously, the way I'm hearing you say this, I mean, there is an unfolding of events and things kind of progressing in a way till you finally get to that point. I'm
Yeah.
wondering, was there a tipping point, whether it was a book, whether it was a conversation with someone special to you, whether it was an article you read, whether it was just you woke up with a realization or a whisper, so to speak? Like, was there something that you can kind of point to within that progression of events that you're like, okay, it's time to lean into gratitude. It's time to honor this law of appreciation as you describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that question. There was a space where my ex and I broke up after 14 years. I knew I needed to stay single. I'm really great at that, by the way. Seriously. And there was this book that I ran across, a friend told me about, called The Four Agreements. Be impeccable with your word. It's not personal. The it's not personal part shattered my old belief systems around some of the things that I thought were personal because I took everything personal and I complained about it.
Mm.
So That moment though was like, wow, it's never been personal. It was just like this, whoa, that's just mind blowing. You know, my first introduction to law of attraction was through Dr. Wayne Dyer. And that's another pinnacle one. But I don't know, Don Miguel Ruiz's work, it will blow anybody's socks off if you haven't read the Four Agreements. There's just something about it. By the way, the third one is never assume anything. And the last one is always do your best. And that one I think is so important because we are all always doing our best, no matter what that might be.
Hmm.
We, you know, I spent a lifetime of beating myself up or not feeling good enough or worthy enough or whatever. And to realize that I'm actually doing the best I can with what I've got at the moment. That's like takes some weight off, you know? So I
So,
would yeah, that was about that time. That book was pretty explosive.
so here, of all the things going on, that's kind of like the nudge in that direction. Now, when you were getting, I guess those aha moments, those epiphanies, it kind of, that those experiences of relief, and you're moving forward now with this new knowledge and this new understanding. Was it a seamless thing where you were on that track, or did you find yourself slipping into old patterns?
Oh gosh, no. I still after all these years, after all this work, I still have triggers. You know, I it's a roller coaster ride. Here's the thing, all of us are on a roller coaster ride. We all know it, but most of the time we're, "Oh my God, going, oh my God,"
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? Unless it's through the fun part where "Oh my God, I'm loving this. Oh yeah." The trick is to love it the whole time, the whole way, all of it. So, is it safe to consider that, yeah, totally. You know, when, the father of my children died, and I held his hand when he took his last breath, we were playing All of My Love from Led Zeppelin, and it gets to that part and it says, um now the part's escaping me. Okay. Is this the end or does it just begin? That's the part. And my son heard it too. Like, right, it was all just this incredible synchronization. And there's a moment in that it was so hard for me to deal with. I think for 2 days I went into a spin. This is somebody I spent my entire young adult life with, 30 some odd years I'd known him. And so it was surreal. It was surreal because I had to look at grief deeply. And then a week later, his sister died. Couple months before that, one of my best friends died. So death had been this big, huge thing in my life. I really went down a bit of a spiral with that for a bit. Grief is also at the bottom of the totem pole on the spiral of emotion. If you are listening to Abraham Hicks, you know that grief is all the way down at the bottom. What finally shifted for me was looking at the gratitude and grief. But during that time, I was shifting into old patterns. I was shifting into old coping skills. That's one of those moments. What pulled me out was looking for what finally came to me was, what if today were your last day? Truly, seriously, without a joke. What would you do differently? What are you waiting for? When you watch somebody take their last breath, you realize the preciousness of the existence that you have now. You realize that this is now the time to take that action. It's now the time to pick up the phone and call that person that you've been thinking about calling but haven't done because your ego won't allow you to do that. It's now about the time to really step forward with your compassionate heart into this world and be of service. It's really the time to look at the life that they leave this life. It lets us appreciate our existence more. Flowers become brighter and they smell better. Fruit. I remember eating a strawberry and picking it up and looking at it and just, I was mesmerized at this miraculous fruit, and I tasted it and it just was so good. Just stop and smell the roses, like the old Mac Davis song from years ago, like super long time ago. But I mean, really, that's what death does, is it unravels anything going on and really gets you to the nitty-gritty of life. To be here, to be that glorious being that you are. There's not, what if today were your last day? I mean, it's a
Mm,
big question to ask people. If we're looking at the law of attraction, when you look at that, if you act as if every single day were your last day, you'll have everything and everything you could ever want because you're going to be in joy all day long, leaving heart prints all over the place. So, what
yeah.
what do you say to that?
Well, so very interesting perspective here. The way you, like you said, if you knew today were your last day, you would leave, what'd you say, heart
Heart
shapes around, or like
heart prints.
heart prints? Cool. So that's very, first of all, it's very refreshing to hear something like that, because I think, as a matter of perspective, some people, first of all, I think it's a very powerful perspective of asking that question. There's certain people that they might be, achievement oriented, where they're like, if it's their last day, they want to like do this big thing. Whereas the way you are taking, it's like, no, if this is the last day, I want to enjoy it. I want to actually take everything in and appreciate it and experience life the way it's meant to be experienced every single day, whether you've got, 1 day left or a million days left or whatever it might be. And it's funny. I've been having so many really fun conversations. They're blending together in this weird way. So I think it was a conversation with our friend in common, Walt,
Yeah.
where we brought up the idea. I think I was the one that articulated it, of the miracles in the minutia. It's like you're just saying, you're just eating a strawberry. Well, most people are like, well, I'm in a rush and I barely had time to wash and I bit into it and I got to get to work. Da 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 da. Like, no, you took that step to breathe it in, and I think there's such a power to that, because going back to those people that are like achievement oriented, if only you would live for the moment, it would build up such incredible momentum and power and insight and brilliance that you would be way beyond whatever you thought those achievements are supposed to be. And you're enjoying the ride while you're doing it. That's what I got from you as you were saying that.
Damn, that's hot. And by the way, so is your hat. Badass.
Thank
I
you.
just freaking love that hat. Oh my God.
Thank
Andrew,
you.
that was so perfect. And you got it. That's it. And I want to tell you something about successes. I've had them. I've had lots of them. I've had a whole lot. I'm 53 years old. I've been on this planet a minute. Not, I've had great successes in my life, and they're fun,
Yeah,
and they come
you're
and they
enjoying it.
go. They come and they go. I love that, success oriented, but to be heart oriented and be love oriented. To me, success, I'll tell you why, because years ago in 2007, 8, I was on top of the world, making a ton of money, very successful, well known in the community, all ego based stuff. And I lost everything, all of it. And I put myself into the space that I was that success. Okay. So when I lost everything, I lost me, and I lost me hard. I went into drinking for a year and a half of my life, which I had never been a drinker. Food would had been my issue. I'd lost 150 pounds, which, by the way, that was 22 years ago.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there a year and a half. I mean, literally, I just want to drink myself to death. I just don't want to be there. I was in the biggest ambulance victim syndrome story you'd ever want in your life. I could have won some stinking award for how sorry I felt. So I 5150'd myself. I put myself in somewhere because at the time I didn't have insurance, but I knew whatever I was doing was probably not gonna, get me anywhere. I was a success driven person who also found out what it's like to lose everything too. And what I'm
Mm,
saying is that the amount of our energy that we put into being that success, well, I'm just curious. What if we put it into being a success in our heart space, in our actual existence first, and then allow the successes to be just an accentuated vibration of awesomeness that we are? You see, I think we need to even look at success differently and appreciate it for what it is, but not put so much into it, because it really is such just for the moment, just like everything else.
yeah. Yeah. Now, first of all, very well said. And I want to ask you about spirituality gone wild. But before I do, one more thing I want to cover with you, because you're articulating something without saying it directly. It's very important in that, we're going back to, the four agreements. You read it and it kind of puts you in this direction. But
Hmm.
what I'm hearing from you is you had agency. You made a decision of yourself of what you were doing.
Yeah.
And here's why I'm bringing this up, because I remember we were on either a call or a conversation or something together. It was like a group interview. It wasn't just us.
Hmm.
And I'd gone on my like one of my little rants where saying people like when it comes to this space, you as in the audience, as in the reader, as in the viewer, as in whoever you are your own guru. And I remember distinctly you were like nodding yes. I'm like, okay, cool. Debbie and I are on the same page about this. And I think it's wonderful is because you have not said that specifically, but you're articulating it in how you're describing what you've done. You went through this bad thing, but you took it upon yourself. And that's not a thing where people shouldn't realize that there's help out there. They should take help where they can get it, but they should also realize that they have way more power inside them than they realize. And if it's my book, if it's the four agreements, if it's a YouTube channel, if it's this interview that's going to it's going to provide an insight, beautiful. But in the end, people have so much agency in and of themselves to do what they need to do to get themselves to a higher level. And I wanted to kind of like, ask you to speak to that a little because again, we're on the same page and you just articulate it in your own way. So I'm like, let me ask Debbie a little bit deeper about that.
I want to just commend you, acknowledge your wonderful active listening skills. I think that they're marvelous. Dude, we are all our own guru. If somebody tells you they've got all the answers, run fast and never look back, run. We all speak from our experiences. What we're hoping is that there's a spark. Remember, we're going to spark that G vibe, spark that oomph inside of you to go, aha, I get that. You know what aha means? Oh yeah, you already know it.
Mm,
We just sparked your memory. I know nothing more than what my experiences have allowed me to have, and all I can do is share those. But we're talking about being your own guru. It really is a matter of asking yourself the questions, the hard questions. But here's the part that I'm going to recommend. You get really straight with yourself and honest. See, there's a lot of people out there. See, I really want to do that. And I really want to try. And I am trying. No, trying is lying. What's up? You're either doing it or you're not doing it. And if you're not doing it, love yourself for the fact you're not doing it. Love yourself if you're going to do it. Either way, doesn't matter. But own your own stuff. Be accountable to that. So in that review of asking yourself questions, you will find your answers within you. These conversations help spark you into the direction of looking inside you, of taking that deep breath. What if? What if that's not true anymore? What if this story, and we can talk about stories if you like and how that works when you've got an old story. Is it true anymore? I mean, somebody just said, you know what? I think that you're just really so and so. And maybe it was an old story. Maybe somewhere back in my childhood, somebody said I wasn't good enough or I wasn't this enough or whatever. Maybe I'm getting a trigger of whatever coming up. This is that opportune moment that I'm talking about that we have to get real with ourselves and ask ourselves questions. One, is that true? Is it true anymore? It probably isn't because you're in a different reality. You're in a different space now. It's probably not. The other thing is, if you heard what I said about the drinking or losing weight, and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do it." Yeah, you are probably or probably not. I really don't know. But here's what I will tell you: don't BS yourself into thinking that you're gonna do it or trying to do it or whatever, and that you're failing. You either are or you're not. And when you decide to do something, Andrew, when you make a decision, and this is important, we can make choices, but when you make a decision, when you decide something, does that happen?
oh yeah, you
Does,
you are unstoppable at that point.
period. Nothing's going to stop you. The passion's driving you, and boom, boom, everybody. you don't even, do not care what others' opinions are, because honestly, come on, I mean, if that's not the biggest waste of time, giving a hoot nanny, oh yeah, you've got an opinion of me, that's super. It's based on your perception from your life and from your experiences, probably absolutely incorrect. There are literally millions of Andrews running around this world right now. I've got a perception of Andrew, so does everybody else. Y'all have Andrew's got a perception of me, so does everybody else. Why are we giving creed or any type of anything to an opinion that someone has about us when we're stepping into our power to do what it is that we're put on this earth to do? You want to be law of attraction, then get your butt out there and start dancing it. I mean, for real. So anyway,
Yeah, I love it.
I
So
get a little excited.
two quick things, and not to upstage you, but when you, just to speak about stories, when you were saying like, is this story real anymore?
Please.
Just to say, one other question that might go a little further is, was the story ever true? Or were you just going along with it because you thought it was, and was it a lie and illusion the whole time? So different questions to ask. One is it real anymore? One, was it
Ooh,
ever real?
was it ever real? We're going to reach through the screen and we're going to hug Andrew right now.
There we go.
Seriously. And here's why. Our memories are full of beanie weenies. That's why. And you just totally touched on that. It's so true. They're like,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
memories, that's the thing. They
Everything's
are
distorted. We remember things in a
totally.
certain. I remember reading something where every time you remember something, your brain is writing over it in a new way. It's almost like an internal one-on-one game of telephone tag, where every time you're remembering, it's recontextualizing. Maybe you're in a bad mood when you're thinking about it, so now that's being injected. Maybe you're in a good mood and that's being injected. There's so many things going on where it's almost to the point where you really can't trust it entirely. But what you can always trust is your love for yourself and your decision to always do whatever you can to enjoy your life as much as possible. And it's one other piece here. My brain keeps blanking out as we're saying it here, because there was another point that you were making, and it'll come back to me. But that's the funny thing. That's why I love these conversations. Like, as you're saying, like, this idea, boom, boom, boom. But really just want to thank you, because like, this is really everything there is to it. As I say that, one thought before we dive into spirituality gone wild. Oh, that's okay. I remember the
Yeah.
thing. This is why. This was me delaying
Oh,
and
well,
pausing so I could remember the thing.
oh,
So
and you
you were
know what?
saying, who cares about someone's thoughts, right? Or
Yeah.
like, don't. Here's what I do
Yeah.
strategically. This is what I was like. I got to make sure I want to mention this. There are times to this day where I'm making a YouTube video and I'm like, this is a little silly, but it's not me calling it silly. It's me thinking of certain people that I know in my life or used to know, where they would be so judgmental and looking so down. I'm like, dude, you're so cheesy. Get over yourself. And when that happens, not only do I disregard it, I amp it up. That's what I want to make sure to bring up to people.
You amp up the cheese. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I love that, because that's right. That's exactly right. When I started, okay, look, Andrew, I say spark the G vibe, for goodness sake. All right. I mean, come on. People they look at you and go, oh,
It's
and I
like,
go,
what?
yeah, what'd you just say? The gratitude vibration. It's your G vibe. It could be your good vibe, the God vibe, your gratitude vibe. Doesn't really matter what your G is, just find it. And I remember back when I was, okay, so I start saying this comes out of my mouth, and then I start saying it. My boys, my sons are now 29 and almost 33. Well, this is like 4 years ago, and they're like walking around the house going, spark the G vibe. And I'm like, oh, I love that. And I said, and soon it's going to be all over. Spark the G. Even my own kids gave me flack. Their
Yeah.
dad, before he died, had I said spark the G vibe yet? No. But he was looking at what I was doing online though, and was like, what are you doing? Like, I had people look at what I was doing, period, as we segue into spirituality gone wild, of looking, and I get that, like friends. And the minute that I would think, oh my God, I can't get on camera. Okay, I'll tell you one. Do you know that 5 years ago, I refused to get on camera? I was so petrified of what people would think. I didn't want, I have a lot of things that I talk about that could upset some people in my life. Oh well, but back then it was a big deal.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, it's when you are in on the camera and you're doing podcasts live, it's a space where we are a target for a whole lot to come at us, and I love that because it's created this experience for me to be so accepting of everyone's opinion, and I've gotten to the space where it's like everyone's right. They're all right because they're all coming from their perspective. Does that mean it needs to be right for me? No. Does that mean that their opinion needs to, that I need to accept that as being true? No. So I love the way that you do that. You just like, oh, I saw that thought coming. We're just going to ramp up the cheese.
Yeah, we're just gonna get there faster. No big
So
deal.
I just got louder, bigger, more like, kind of in your face about it. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Totally.
Okay, so teasing over, let's talk about spirituality gone wild because I love what you're doing, but I want to ask you to articulate for the audience what you're doing, what inspired this, what you're looking to do through this platform and what you're looking to facilitate.
I love to talk about spirituality gone wild. So years ago, there was this wonderful man, and his name was Bob Miller, and he was practice gratitude success. He had had a couple of strokes. He was the most wonderful law of attraction facilitator, I shall call him. Um, Bob was wonderful. He's not here anymore. That's why I say was. We were having a conversation. It was so cool. We were talking about aliens. We were talking about angels, and we were talking about multi dimensions and all this weird, like crazy stuff. Law of attraction, Abraham Hicks, channeling. And I'm like, Bob, spirituality's gone wild. Oh my God. And he's like, what'd you just say? And I said, spirituality, it's like gone wild. He goes, oh my God, that's hilarious. I said, oh my gosh, you're right. I like that. And then I just kept getting these insights, I'll call them, of where I was going with that whole thing. And Bob passed away, and then Wayne passed away. And that's when all that happened. And I saw that I needed to open this platform to provide a space for co creators like myself to be able to share. I love interviewing people. And that's one of my favorite things about spirituality gone wild is I get to interview people like you, Andrew, who are doing great work in the world, who have a voice that needs to be heard. And the reason why is because you have something that even if only one other person heard, that is what we're here to do. Show up for each other. Spirituality Gone Wild is a community based on co-creating, collaborating in a state of compersion, which is joy and elation and celebration for others. And it's just a safe space to do that. We're doing some shifts right now, going over to more plant medicine, we're plant intelligence. Joan Hangarter, Dr. Joan Hangarter has already started a show called 420 Spiritual Living. I am in California. We're really open here. So,
Mm.
but not just that. There's a lot of I've seen in my own life, and that's on the recovery end, which we can talk about in a minute. But spirituality gone wild is all things, all resources, all tools, all everything that you could ever want that you might need. That's what it's designed to be. From the people speaking and everything that they're offering, like you guys need to go get the Law of Attraction, the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. You need to get that. I'm telling y'all, things like this are important. So anyway, that's why I started it, and where it is today is just it literally just right now I can tell y'all blows my own mind. I can give you I've got yeah, it's crazy.
So real quick, just to kind of give my observation as you're saying that, the feeling I get is you basically created something where, and I'm perfectly happy in my zone here right now, law of attraction. But what you're saying here is you're saying like, listen, you can find law of attraction there, you can find aliens there, you can find plant intelligence there, you could find anything where someone else might judge you for being weird, but there's a place where you can explore this line of thought, not in not only just in an open way where people are welcome, but what I'm getting from you is an intelligent, well thought out way where the people that you're bringing on, they're not. I mean, more power to anyone that just wants to say stuff, but they're not just saying stuff. They've researched, they've thought it out, they've put their thoughts together. Their goal is to share and to serve. So you're kind of like serving up everyone across the board, and you're not closing off anything that might fall into the realm of spirituality. That's the feeling I get from you as
That's
you're
right.
describing this, and even in the name itself.
You nailed it. 100%. I welcome everyone and everything. I study right now. My favorite field of study is the Tao Te Ching. I'm just, I think we talked about that and I showed you that book. Like I'm the change your thoughts, change your life. I showed it to Neo, but
Mhm.
it's like I'm just engrossed in that. But it might be, tomorrow I might be looking at some Buddhist practices. I might be looking at breath work. So this is a whole lot about spirituality gone wild and I went off into left field about, but this is the law of attraction. This is the passion behind how you live your life, how you choose that this is going to be your last day and how you're going to live it. If I Every day should be so exciting to you because it's like Christmas morning and you have no clue what's about to happen.
So I think two more questions I have for you here. One's more like an observation and inviting you to let me know if I'm misrepresenting you or putting words in your mouth here, because backing up a little bit, you're mentioning all these things, all these things you've explored and these roads that you've walked down, and the feeling I could get from you is you're doing them as a way of learning more, enjoying life more, appreciating more, but you're already complete. You're not doing it from the perspective of once I figure this out, then there's completion. That's the feeling I get from you. You're already complete, which is helping you enjoy these paths all the more as you learn and as you go down that road or those roads. Is that a fair way of putting it based on your own personal experience?
My gosh, I love that. You're right. Totally. I'm not seeking anything. And once I get there, I'm living it now. I don't have anything that could happen tomorrow that's going to make my life that thing. My life is that thing. Whether or not that my reality always is exactly what I desire it to be. Yeah, totally, dude. I didn't even
Awesome.
think that, man, that's rock star.
Yeah, I see. I just want to make sure to articulate that only because I know sometimes people as observers, they'll hear this. And I think oftentimes people are caught in this loop of going down different roads because they think there's completion, not realizing, at least in my humble opinion, and I think you agree, the completion's already there. This is just about learning new things, enjoying new things, experiencing new things, but also just being happy now in the moment and not waiting to be happy.
There was a time a couple years ago where that I had to make some major changes and we had to make some major shifts because what we were doing wasn't working. And that represented a reality that I did not own a car. I was renting one. We did not know where we were going. This is all live. It's all documented on Spirituality Gone Wild. Didn't have a clue. And I was okay with that. I was complete there too, sweetie. I
Hmm.
was like, at that point, you learn to love and appreciate life for what it is in the moment, in the time. And for me, that was okay. We drove to the beach and we had a gorgeous view. That was to soak in what we already have access to.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
So this actually brings me very perfectly and very seamlessly to a last question I had for you today. As the gratitude whisperer, for everyone listening, your own personal feelings, your own personal guidance and wisdom, what would you say to anyone that's just looking for advice on how to appreciate more, how to experience gratitude more, how to take advantage of feeling gratitude so that they can improve their lives? Like, what would you say to someone as a tip or as a piece of advice or anything that you think they might want to hear right now or that they should hear right now?
Killer question. Who are you grateful for? Who? Think about who you're grateful for. Take an action. Write it down. If they're not here anymore, write down what it was that you were grateful for. How did they help you get to where you are right now? Grateful state of beingness. It's not just, it is a feeling that comes from your heart space when you connect with love to someone else. So, to truly experience a grateful life and a grateful state of living, look for who you're grateful for and don't forget yourself.
Debbie, that is the perfect note to end this interview on. I just want to
Thank you.
say thank you so much for sharing yourself, for being so open about your life and your experiences, and really in your own awesome, unique way, facilitating change and facilitating improvement for people that might be listening to this and people who might have been waiting to hear this. So, obviously, I'm going to leave a link to Spirituality Gone Wild website in the YouTube description. I invite people to check it out, learn more about you, connect with you there. But really, just thank you so much for chatting with me today. I appreciate you beyond words.
Wow, Andrew, I love you, and I'm loving everything that you're doing in this world, and I love how you show up. Keep doing what you're doing because you are the change in the world.